Thank you very much, TCTA. Could we go to questions? Honorable Reddy, you first. You're welcome to start. Let's deal with the. Can I ask that we deal with the department and TCTA together, because I think that is where most of the question would come from. Honorable Reddy, you're more than welcome. Can we start with 3 questions and then
Thank you.
we will go for next round?
Thank you, Chairperson. I think right at the outset, let me make it clear why we as the MK will not be supporting this report in its current form. It's not because the crisis is not real, but because this report fails to confront the crisis with the seriousness and honesty it demands. The department begins by quoting the Constitution, speaking about dignity and access to water and basic rights. Given the current climate in this country, I would not go there. I will not quote the Constitution and Bill of Rights because it's not worth the paper it is written on. Where is the dignity, Chairperson, in the lived reality of our people? Communities are drinking water from unsafe sources. Sewage is flowing through taps in people's homes. Taps have run dry for days. People are forced to go and get water from water tankers. A report that speaks about dignity must also reflect the absence of dignity in practice. And this does not go far enough. Chairperson, now hear me very carefully. The report talks about 90% of South Africans having access to water. Yet the same report admits that reliability has declined sharply and water often does not come out of the taps. So this report presents a statistic without confronting its contradiction. Access without reliability is not access at all. Chairperson, let me turn to what is being presented as a key intervention. The National Water Crisis Committee. We welcome the recognition of the crisis. There's no doubt about that. In fact, this intervention was proposed by MK in this committee long before it was even adopted. But here is a fundamental flaw, and I'd like members to listen to this very, very carefully. This report does not give us confidence that this structure will succeed. Why? Because clearly define how it will intervene decisively in failing municipalities. This committee has not told us that. Explain how it will avoid becoming another bureaucratic coordination platform. It does not guarantee that it will be driven by technical expertise rather than political processes. Without these assurances, this committee risks becoming another layer of administration and not a solution. Chairperson, let me just expand on this. We are bringing in politicians that are currently overseeing the water, that created the water crisis. Premiers, you're bringing in ministers. I don't believe that these are the people that can find the solutions. We need the experts. A person like the CE of Rand Water, Sipho Masai, bring him on board. Let him lead this crisis team, and then we can have some hope. But at the moment, no. We're getting the same people responsible for these failures leading a committee that's meant to find solutions. Now let's deal with the most serious omission in this report, the treatment of the green drop findings. Chairperson, only 1.6% of wastewater systems are compliant. Let that sink in. And 67% of wastewater systems are performing below 50%. This is a national emergency. But in this report, it is reduced to a data point, not treated with the urgency, the detail, and intervention that it requires. Equally concerning is the continued approach to funding. The report itself acknowledges weak implementation, lack of ring fencing, overstated progress by municipalities, and yet there is no firm position on changing the funding model. So here is my question. The minister also said, and quite rightly so, that there's enough raw water. The problem is that municipalities are unable to get this water to people. Why does this report fail to recommend the redirection of infrastructure grants away from failing municipalities to capable implementing agents such as our water boards. Let's take the bull by the horns and let's be drastic about it. You cannot continue funding these failing municipalities because we know what is going to happen there. Nothing. Because without the shift that we are proposing, Chairperson, we are simply recycling failure. Honorable Chairperson, it's for these reasons that this report does not adequately reflect the severity of the crisis. It does not provide credible, decisive interventions. It does not address the fundamental failure of the municipal model. And it does not treat the green job crisis with the urgency it deserves. We therefore will object to the adoption of this report in its current form. However, Chairperson, we will not stop at this objection only. I want to propose that the committee convenes a dedicated standalone session on the Green Drop report at the next meeting, with detailed turnaround plans, clear timelines, and accountability measures. And further, that the department must return with a concrete proposal on the redirection of infrastructure funding to capable entities where municipalities have failed. You've heard what the CFO said. We are channeling billions of rands back into municipalities. Take some time off. Watch the Madlanga Commission, and you will see in Chwane municipality how dirty, corrupt municipal officials have been milking this city, stealing money from our people that they're unable to get services. So in closing, Chairperson, this is not just about a report. This is about whether this committee is prepared to confront reality or manage decline. And in this respect, we choose to confront reality. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Minister? Is the minister still on?
No, she's not, Chairperson. I saw her leaving the platform. Could be a signal issue.
No,
Deputy Minister?
we're on the platform, Chair.
Okay. Can the minister respond, please? Or you, Deputy Minister?
No, Chairperson, I think let's welcome the input by Honorable Reddy. Let's say the points he's raising are points of debate. He grew up in the water space, and you know exactly what does it mean, access. It means access to infrastructure. The infrastructure is there, and Minister Machotina has never denied that the problem is the infrastructure failure that has happened. And infrastructure failure, Comrade Reddy, you know, it has been underinvestment over some time. The infrastructure has deteriorated, is oversaturated. Minister has said when she did the assessment, remember the numbers we are reading. These numbers are not a new revelation. It's our own assessment. When she indicated at the beginning, I've brought back the drop report because it's a self-assessment tool. It's about accountability, it's about being transparent, and she's transparent. Remember, these municipalities were a good councillor for more than 10 years. eThekwini is an example where underinvestment happened. And this underinvestment, you know, in the last 4 or 5 years, the quantum was about 400 billion rands. That is required to fix the problem. Together with yourselves, we're there when we agreed on the 5-point plan to say that the delivery model, Chairperson, will have to be changing. That's why the minister said, I'm introducing the utility model, whether local business enterprise. But some of the people politically, they were saying, Minister, we are privatizing, which is an ideological issue. When we said build municipality-owned entities that are there, we must admit, Honorable Reddy, national government is not a big brother. We're a constitutional democracy. There are things that the minister says we need to support, like 154 says we need to do that. Equally, it solves you have your issues of 139 and also all these fundings. Therefore, the issue to say that we must actually bully local government is not going to work. But what we will do, the intervention minister has said, including the intervention that the president will make, They will be within the law in terms of Section 154. Just check the Constitution. We'll also use Section 139, especially 5 and 7. We'll also use Section 63. And Minister, when she made her overarching remarks, Honorable Chairperson, those are the things. She said, I'm not going to wait when municipalities are struggling. They are in a position that they are actually violating human rights. That's what she has said. There's nothing wrong to quote the human rights to say we're bound by the issues in the Constitution. We're also bound by the NDP. We're bound by this one. On intervention, Honorable Reddy, Minister has said herself, I'm going to deploy expertise. I'm going to bring in private sector where it is warranted. I'm going to make my entities like those strong water boards and other agencies that are there in the state to support those municipalities. Equally, she says just this budget that we want you to support. She's putting more than 12 to 13 billion rands, more than 442 projects. You can see them, both in terms of RPIC and WISIC, that we need to be able to do that. Look at the blended finance, Honorable Chair. We went to the infrastructure fund. We know now that there are 4 windows that are there. And these municipalities, Chairperson, are actually being assisted by this particular ministry. In instances where municipalities are failing, Chair, it is only our department that have re-looked at the issues of grants rather than the grants being direct grants to municipalities. You can see in this report, a number of these grants have been reconverted into indirect grants supported by the Minister of Finance and our water boards, our construction unit, and some of the district municipalities that have capacity are implementing these particular issues. Honorable Reddy, we must be able to say the department is hard at work, but we are the first to admit there are certain communities that we have not responded to these issues. But we cannot be doomsayers as if this ministry, led by Comrade Pemi Majodina, is doing nothing when we are doing all our best. Equally, our interventions in water, you as a leadership of our portfolio committee have acknowledged is not going to work unless the status of municipalities around their reforms, the white paper and all these other interventions are being done. But to be able to cast aspersion on the issues, whether the president is going to be able to pull this thing through. Those of us who are sitting with president under the leadership of Minister Majodina, we know we've produced a credible plan. The plan has been accepted by the team led by President. It has been accepted by premiers. But more importantly, because we are a constitutional country, we can't implement this plan that the President has finalized with the ministers without the plan actually supported by municipalities. But we can assure South African, those municipalities that are struggling, we are going to support them. Where it is required a chairperson that the minister must intervene, she will definitely intervene, and we're ready, Mr. Reid. We're ready. Engineers are there, our entities are there, including private sector that can come at a risk basis so that we can improve the reliability of supply like we're trying to do at Tegwini. You go to Eguruleni right now, there's been an improvement. Lastly, on the green drop, we will welcome the discussion. Please find time to read the green drop. Municipalities that were worst performing, take an example of Msugalikwa in Ermel. We took them to court, Chairperson, about 300 million rand, which was an issue. We look at Chief Albert Tultuli and a number of these municipalities, Chair, but with the intervention of Minister Majodina, the provincial heads of some of these provinces that Minister leads, they were able to identify 8 municipalities where I come from in Mpumalanga. For the first time, they improve from mere less than 20% to above 70% in terms of performance. Guess what? The best performing municipality in the country became a municipality that was not performing well, Steve Twete in Miklibeck. These are some of the examples we want to share. But admittedly, we have not arrived at an ideal situation where all we want to. But as I said, Honorable Chair Leon, Minister is also on the line. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Reddy. Your responses?
Yeah, Chairperson, I know where the problem lies. You see, there was a time when I was in the same party as the Deputy Minister, And he is one of the very proactive ministers, one of the most proactive I know. We would call him, and whenever we called him, he would come. And he would see the livid realities of people on the ground, not just rely on reports. Unfortunately, now that we're in different parties, I think he's not getting my calls anymore. So he's relying on reports from the departments. And that is why we see a picture that's being presented in reports, which is not the reality on the ground. I mean, take Gogo Helen Zille. She's running around. I actually think she's doing a good job in exposing the crisis in Gauteng. You wouldn't see that in the reports, but that's what's happening on the ground. So I hear the Deputy Minister, and it's well within his rights to say what he said, but I will not change what I have said. We will maintain that we cannot support this report. It does not reflect the urgency of the situation on the ground. I thank you, Honourable Chairperson.